Russian occupation forces lack sufficient forces to continue their offensive in the Sumy region. The enemy has put an end to the Sumy operation, according to Pavlo Lakiychuk, head of the military programs at the Strategy XXI Center for Global Studies. The expert expressed this opinion on the Freedom television channel. According to him, Russian dictator Putin and his generals transferred the units that operated first in the Kursk area and then in Sumy to the southern front to restore combat capability. Now they have been redeployed to eastern Ukraine, the expert says, right into the second echelon of the group advancing on Pokrovsk. This once again emphasizes the importance of the Pokrovsk sector for the entire Russian offensive at the moment, Lakiychuk explained. According to the expert, the offensive by Russian occupation forces in the Sumy region was of secondary importance. The enemy in the north is currently weakened, Lakiychuk believes, and the enemy's objective is more defensive than any further attempts to advance towards Sumy. In Pokrovsk direction, Ukrainian forces are pressing hard in the Dobropilya sector, carving up Russian lines and closing the gates behind the now isolated groups. With hundreds of Ukrainian drones in the air, a third pocket of Russian forces has formed, larger than the other two combined, and time is running out for the Russian soldiers still trapped inside, says RFU News media outlet. Ukraine's troops have started advancing southward, pushing the Russians back and retaking key ground in and around Pankivka. This advance was made possible due to the intensive work of Ukrainian drone operators working around the clock to spot and destroy every movement of the Russians. As a result, Ukrainian ground forces were able to push forward, and the 1st Azov Corps confirmed that Ukrainian units had fully cleared Pankivka. Russia tried to counter this by rushing in 4 infantry units and a marine regiment, but Ukrainian tactics of striking reinforcements on the move are blunting every effort. Colonel Valentin Manko, head of Ukraine's Assault Troops Command, confirmed that Russian forces near Dobropilya have been cut off for 3 weeks, and there are now 3 distinct pockets under Ukrainian control. With Ukrainian drones swarming overhead and artillery covering every approach, these Russian formations face the same fate as those in the first northern cauldron that was cleared already. Amid these developments, President Volodymyr Zelenski made a symbolic visit to the front, as a video from the Pokrovsk-Dobropilya axis showed him meeting soldiers engaged in the counter-offensive, presenting state awards and receiving briefings from Commanding General Alexander Syrsky. Zelensky used the occasion to underline the scale of Ukraine's progress in the latest counter-offensive operation, in which, despite tough battles, Ukrainian troops have inflicted the enemy with serious losses. Zelensky confirmed that 160 square kilometers have been fully liberated, another 171 square kilometers cleared but not yet consolidated, including 7 freed and 9 cleared settlements. During the battle for the Dobropilya salient, more than 100 Russians were captured, 1,322 killed, and another 1,134 wounded. The presented numbers match the evidence on the ground, where geolocated footage confirms Ukraine's steady gains, heavy Russian casualties, and dire situation for the Russian armed forces, RFU News says. Overall, Ukraine's multi-layer campaign around Pokrovsk is paying off by combining airstrikes, drone warfare, and persistent raids against Russian depots and supply routes. Ukrainian commanders have choked Russia's ability to sustain its offensive.
Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov on Wednesday charged that U.S. President Donald Trump's remarks at the UN General Assembly were influenced by his meeting with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenski and appeared to reflect Kiev's narrative. According to Associated Press, speaking in a conference call with reporters, he said Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov would convey Moscow's view of the situation during a meeting with U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio on the sidelines of the UN meeting. Peskov argued that the Russian economy had remained strong despite Western sanctions and that Russian troops had been steadily making advances on the battlefield in Ukraine. In our view, the thesis that Ukraine can reclaim something is wrong, Peskov said. The battlefield dynamics clearly show that. He also warned that Kyiv will face tougher conditions for peace as time goes by. They are trying to show to their European sponsors and curators that they can keep on fighting. But they mustn't forget that Ukraine's negotiating position will only worsen by day, he said. Commenting on Trump's comment that Russia has been fighting aimlessly, Peskov countered by saying that Moscow has been fighting to ensure our security and our interests and remove the root causes of the conflict between Russia and Ukraine. Linked to the refusal by the previous American administrations and the Europeans to take our concerns into account. At the same time, Peskov again hailed Trump's push for a settlement, saying that Putin highly appreciates President Trump's political will to keep assisting the search for a peaceful settlement. President Putin is open to search for a peaceful settlement, he added. Asked about Trump answering affirmatively when asked whether European NATO allies should shoot down intruding Russian aircraft, Peskov reaffirmed the accusations of Russian intrusions as absolutely unfounded claims.
Насколько мы понимаем, заявления президентом Трампом были сделаны после общения с Зеленским, по всей видимости, под влиянием того видения, которое изложил Зеленский. Это видение оно абсолютно контрастирует с нашим пониманием нынешнего положения дел. Но вместе с тем мы тоже будем иметь возможность довести до американской стороны нашу позицию. И это сможет сделать наш министр иностранных дел Лавров, который будет встречаться со своим визави в Нью-Йорке на полях Генассамблеи. Война — это не бесцельная. Война — это для того, чтобы обеспечить нашу безопасность и наши интересы и ликвидировать первопричины того конфликта, который сейчас есть между Россией и Украиной, и который, собственно, есть в области вообще европейской безопасности. И связано это с нежеланием и американцев, предыдущих администраций, и европейцев принимать во внимание нашу озабоченность. Россия будет продолжать отстаивать свои интересы, российская сторона в целом, и президент Путин, в частности, высоко ценит политическую волю президента Трампа дальше способствовать поискам пути мирного урегулирования. Президент Путин открыт для поисков мирного урегулирования. Киевский режим, между тем, сейчас абсолютно ушел в пассивную позицию. По всей видимости, они пытаются продемонстрировать и своим спонсорам в Европе, и своим кураторам то, что они могут воевать. Но они должны не забывать, что с каждым прожитым днем, когда украинская сторона отказывается от переговоров, позиции украинской стороны переговорные будут только ухудшаться. Это реальное положение дел. И динамика на фронтах более чем красноречиво об этом свидетельствует. То, что Украину пытаются всячески сподвигнуть на продолжение боевых действий, и тезис, что Украина может обратно что-то отвоевать, это, с нашей точки зрения, ошибочный тезис. Мы слышим такую экзальтированную истерику насчет того, что наши военные летчики, дескать, нарушали какие-то правила и вторгались в чье-то воздушное пространство. Но все эти утверждения абсолютно безосновательны и бездоказательны.